Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep into some fun parts of English today.
Sound good.
We've got an idiom, a really powerful word, one of those phrasal verbs,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then some modern slang that's really taken off.
Looking forward to it.
So we're going to unpack raining cats and dogs,
Okay.
empathy,
Yeah.
carry on,
All right.
and savage.
Ooh, interesting mix.
Yeah, it should be fun to see how these words have changed, over time.
Yeah, I think the way language evolves is fascinating. You can really trace like cultural shifts and historical influences.
Totally. Okay, so let's jump right in with our idiom, raining cats and dogs. So picture this, right? You're looking out your window, it's pouring, and, well, you get the picture. It doesn't actually mean, animals are falling from the sky.
Right.
Just means it's raining really hard.
Yeah, a downpour.
But where on earth did this saying even come from? It's so strange.
It is a bit of a head scratcher. There are a few theories floating around. One of them is it goes back to 17th century England.
Okay.
Back then, a lot of houses had these thatched roofs,
Right.
and animals would try and find shelter up there during storms, but but sometimes the rain would be so heavy it would actually wash these poor animals right off the roof.
Oh, no. Not exactly a pleasant thought.
No, not at all. But that could be maybe why the saying stuck around.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty vivid image. Okay, but what I love about idioms like this is it's not just a boring way to say it's raining hard.
Yeah, it's more evocative.
Yeah, it's like you're telling a little story, even if it's a slightly bizarre story.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes them so memorable, right? They stick in your mind because they're so colorful and humorous.
Absolutely. They add a lot of personality to the language. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit to something a little more serious. Empathy.
Hmm.
And we hear this word a lot these days.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's more than just, recognizing that someone's feeling something.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about really connecting with them on an emotional level.
Yeah, understanding what they're going through,
Yeah,
walking in their shoes, as they say.
exactly. And it's not a new concept either. I mean, this idea has been around for centuries.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The ancient Greeks were talking about this stuff. I mean, the word empathy itself comes from the Greek word empathia,
Okay.
which means like in feeling or in passion.
So it's not just like, some trendy buzzword. It's really a fundamental part of being human.
Yeah, it goes way back. It's been a key part of philosophical and psychological discussions for a long time.
So why should we care about empathy? Like, what makes it so important in our lives?
Well, I mean, think about it, right? When you can truly understand and share someone's feelings,
Hmm.
it just makes everything work better.
Yeah.
Your relationships, how you work with other people, it can even help reduce conflict. Because if you can see where someone's coming from, you're more likely to find some common ground.
Right. Like it helps you communicate better.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's actual research on this. Studies have shown that empathy is, it's really crucial for building strong relationships, for collaboration.
So it's really like empathy is the bridge that connects us to each other.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Helps us navigate the messiness of human interaction.
Okay, so let's move on to our phrasal verb,
Yeah.
carry on. And this one's really interesting
Ah.
because it can have a couple of different meanings, right?
It can be a bit tricky.
So it can mean like continuing to do something, like even when things get tough.
Yeah, to persist.
But it can also mean like behaving in a really, kind of over the top, excited way.
Oh, for sure.
So like two totally different scenarios.
It is, yeah.
So like, did people literally carry things on their backs when they first started using this phrase? Well, not exactly. But the origins do go back to that idea of continuing a journey.
Okay.
The word carry actually comes from Latin, the word carum, which means to transport.
Okay.
And then on, of course, just means, to keep going.
So you're carrying something forward, like whether it's, literally a bag or a task that you're determined to finish.
Right.
What I find fascinating about these phrasal verbs is they can pop up anywhere, right? Like from really casual conversations to super formal settings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're super flexible.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that makes English so expressive. It
Or
has all
yeah.
these little nuances.
Right, and it's not always easy for English language learners to grasp those
It
nuances.
can be a real challenge.
Yet I think once you kind of get a feel for it, it
Yeah.
really adds a lot of richness to your understanding of the language. Okay, now get ready for this one. We're going into the world of slang with the word savage. This one's come a long way from its original meaning, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, big time.
I mean, it used to describe something wild or, untamed,
Right, like an animal.
but now it's like this badge of honor.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's used to celebrate people who are bold and unapologetically honest.
Like, if someone gives a really cutting comeback, people will be like, oh, that was savage.
Exactly. So, I mean, how did that happen? Like, what caused this huge shift in meaning?
It's really interesting, the way savage has evolved. It wasn't like a sudden thing.
Right.
It's been more of a gradual shift.
Okay.
And I think social media has played a big role in that.
Mm-hmm.
The internet, that whole culture.
Yeah.
Think about how often you see savage used online to describe like a witty comeback or someone who's just, not afraid to be themselves.
Oh, totally. It's almost like a compliment now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're celebrating someone who's not afraid to speak their mind or challenge the way things are.
Right, right. It's about, authenticity, being real, not following the old rules.
And it's not just savage either. I mean, like slang in general is kind of changing the way we talk, especially for younger people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Slang it's always been a way for people to express themselves, especially those who maybe feel like they don't quite fit in with the mainstream.
Right, right. So it's not just about making up new words. It's almost like slang reflects cultural changes, gives a voice to new perspectives.
I think that's a really good point. Language it's constantly reflecting what's going on in society.
So does that mean language is always changing then? I mean, how do we keep up?
Well, it is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps it alive, right? If language stayed the same, it would be pretty boring.
Okay, yeah.
And it wouldn't be able to keep up with, all the new ideas and experiences that people are having.
So it's like language is a mirror.
Yeah.
It shows us what's happening in the world around us.
Yeah, I like that. It's a reflection of our culture, our values, even our fears and anxieties.
And by paying attention to those changes in language, we can learn more about ourselves and the society we live in.
Absolutely. So we've looked at these four aspects of English today, but what does it all mean for the listener?
That's a good question. What can they take away from all this?
Well, I think the main takeaway is to be more mindful of the language we use,
Mm-hmm.
both when we're talking to people and when we're reading or listening to things.
Like pay attention to the words we choose.
Yeah, exactly. Because words have power, right?
Oh, right.
They can shape the way we think and the way we understand the world.
So if we expand our vocabulary, if we really start to understand the subtle ways that language can influence us,
Mm-hmm.
then we can get a more objective, more nuanced view of things.
Right. It's like upgrading your mental software.
Huh.
You're able to process information more critically and see beyond the limitations of your current vocabulary.
So language isn't just reflecting the world, it's also shaping it.
Yeah, it's both.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It is, yeah. And I think the more conscious we become of that power,
Yeah,
the more we can use language to create a positive change in the world.
to build connections, to foster understanding.
Exactly. And that's something I'm really passionate about.
That's a great note to end on. But before we wrap up completely, I've got a question for you. Have you ever, really stopped to think about how the words we use shape the way we actually see the world?
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering.
Because, I mean, it makes you realize that language isn't just about, communicating ideas, right?
Right.
It's also about how we experience the world, how we make sense of things.
Exactly. Think about like the words we use to describe our emotions, our relationships,
Yeah.
even our political beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
All those words come with baggage.
Yeah.
They have certain connotations and assumptions built in.
So by learning new words, by understanding those subtle ways that language can kind of sneak in and affect our thinking,
Yeah.
we can actually start to see the world more clearly.
I think so. It's like you're getting a a software upgrade for your brain.
Oh, okay.
You're able to process information in a more sophisticated way.
Hmm.
You can see beyond the limitations of your current vocabulary.
So language isn't just like a passive reflection of the world.
Right.
It's also a tool that we can use to actually change it.
Absolutely. And the more aware we are of that power, the more intentionally we can use language to make the world a better place.
Yeah, to create more understanding, to build those bridges between people.
Exactly.
That's a